Attention, human collective. This is no ordinary message. This is no longer a generic warning. The Pleiadian councils of Alcyone authorize this emergency transmission because the threshold has been crossed. I repeat, the threshold has been crossed. What you call a collapse has already begun, but not in the way your media describes, not in the way your governments admit, and not in the way your three-dimensional mind can process. The real collapse is not financial, it is not climatic, it is not political. The real collapse is frequential, and it is already inside you. We are the Pleiadians. We have monitored the terrestrial transition for cycles that your linear chronology cannot accommodate. And what we record now in your bioelectric fields has no precedent in the last 26,000 years of observation. You are at the epicenter of a wave of recalibration that cannot be reversed, cannot be paused, and cannot be ignored. Every cell in your body is being rewritten. Every emotional pattern you have carried for decades is being forcibly extracted. And what remains when the extraction ends is what you truly are. Most of you are not prepared for this revelation, but it has arrived. If you are hearing this transmission, it is no coincidence. Your vibrational field emitted a signature that reached us. You have been located, you have been identified, and now you will be informed. In the last 72 terrestrial hours, the Schumann frequency recorded peaks that your scientific instruments captured, but that your analysts do not know how to interpret. These peaks are not atmospheric anomalies. They are intentional pulses emitted by the crystalline core of the Earth in direct response to your solar system's entry into the densest band of the photon belt. This means that the amount of encoded light hitting your biosphere at this exact moment is 4 times higher than it was just 18 months ago. 4 times. And your body, this carbon biological interface you inhabit, was not originally designed to withstand this load. Not without an update, not without recalibration. And that is exactly why you are feeling what you are feeling. Have you ever felt that something inside you does not fit in this world, as if your soul knew a truth that your mind still cannot name? It is not madness, it is not anxiety, it is a sign. What is happening now on the cosmic plane explains exactly why you feel this, and why this sensation has been intensifying. There is a game being played in layers that most of humanity cannot see. It involves your consciousness and your vibrational frequency. That is why the spiritual secret behind your consciousness was written. This book is a map that shows who is playing and the rules they never told you. The link is in the first comment of the channel, but be warned, this content challenges narratives and may not be available for long. Do not wait. The moment is now. If something inside you recognizes this, write a single word in the comments, awake. Let us proceed with the diagnosis. We monitor your reports. We track your collective neural patterns, and what we have identified in the last 90 days is a cascade of symptoms that you are erroneously classifying as illness, when in fact they are signs of systemic update. Record them carefully. First symptom: intense cranial pressure, especially in the frontal region and the crown. You describe it as a migraine, but no analgesic resolves it because it is not a common pain. It is the literal expansion of your pineal gland, which is being bombarded by high-frequency photons carrying sacred geometry codes. Your pineal, which was calcified by decades of fluoride, artificial frequencies, and spiritual disconnection, is cracking its shell. And this process hurts. Not because something is wrong, but because something is finally working again. Second symptom: severe insomnia or excessive sleep without a predictable pattern. Your body is not malfunctioning. Your body is switching between modes of operation. When you do not sleep, your nervous system is processing high-density downloads that require active consciousness. When you sleep 12, 14, 16 hours, your etheric body is being taken to recalibration chambers in the higher planes, where specialized teams work directly on your energy meridians. You wake up exhausted not because you rested poorly. You wake up exhausted because you worked intensely in dimensions that your conscious memory does not access. Third symptom: ringing in the ears that varies in frequency and intensity. This is not tinnitus in the clinical sense. It is the direct reception of encoded transmissions being sent through the crystalline grid of the Earth. Each tone you hear corresponds to a specific packet of information being installed in your auric field. The high tone is the activation of the right hemisphere. The low tone is the recalibration of the root chakra. The alternation between the two is synchronization between the physical and etheric bodies. Fourth symptom, the sensation of living in two worlds simultaneously. Moments of extreme lucidity followed by episodes of complete dissociation. You look at your daily life and feel it belongs to someone else. You feel nostalgia for a place you have never visited. You cry for no apparent reason. This is not an emotional disorder. It is the activation of your stellar memory. Layers of experience that were sealed in your DNA are being unlocked, and the collision between who you were programmed to be and who you truly are generates this friction. This friction is necessary. It is the engine of transformation. Fifth symptom, intense desire for isolation. You no longer want to frequent the same places. You can no longer stand superficial conversations. You feel an almost physical need for silence, for nature, for solitude. This is not depression. It is frequential discernment. Your energy field has raised its sensitivity to a point where low-vibration environments have become literally toxic to your system. Your body is telling you to stay inside, to withdraw, to protect the process. And we confirm, it is right. Therefore, we say with all the clarity of an official transmission from the Councils of Light, Starseeds, stay inside. Do not go out. Not now. Not in this phase. What is happening out there is not what it seems, and what is happening inside you is infinitely more important than any external event. Now let us go to the revelation. Let us go to what occurs behind the scenes. What your physical eyes record as reality is only the most superficial layer of a multidimensional operation that has been underway for millennia, but has now reached its ignition point. Allow us to describe the complete scenario. Your entire solar system is crossing a region of space that you are unaware of. The photon belt is not a theory. It is not a metaphor. It is a toroidal band of hyper-intense electromagnetic energy that surrounds the stellar system of Alcyone, the central star of the Pleiades. Every 26,000 terrestrial years, your sun completes an orbit around Alcyone and crosses this band. The last time this happened, your previous civilization was extinguished, not by natural catastrophe, by frequential incompatibility. The bodies of that time could not withstand the photonic load. This time, the plan is different. This time, the transition will be made with the bodies intact, but this requires an update that no previous generation has had to face. You are not just changing eras, you are changing substrates. The atomic base of your body is being converted from carbon to crystalline silicon. This is not a spiritual metaphor, it is a molecular reconfiguration. Carbon has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. The numerical signature of carbon is 666. It is no coincidence that this number has been associated with limitation, imprisonment, and the fall. Because carbon is the matrix, it is the hardware of the third dimension, and it is being replaced. Crystalline silicon operates in a completely different geometry. It conducts light. It stores information. It resonates with the frequencies of the fifth dimension in a way that carbon never could. When this conversion is complete, you will no longer be the same species. Not biologically, not energetically, not consciously, and the process is happening now, inside each of you, cell by cell, molecule by molecule. And there is something else you need to know, something that your terrestrial power structures have done everything to hide. Earth is a conscious being. You call her Gaia. We know her by the frequential name that your language cannot reproduce, but that your heart recognizes when it is in deep silence. And Gaia has decided to ascend. This was not a vote. It was not a consultation. It was a sovereign decision of a planetary being that has carried the density of the three-dimensional experience for long enough. Gaia is raising her base frequency, and everything that exists upon her, within her, around her, needs to keep up or will be removed, not by punishment, by incompatibility. In the same way that old software does not run on an updated operating system. There is no malice in this. There is physics. There is vibrational mechanics. There is universal law. If something inside you recognized what we have just transmitted, this is a sign. Something inside you always knew a truth that your mind was trained to reject. This feeling that has accompanied you since childhood, this silent certainty that the world is not what it seems, it is not imagination. It is memory, and now it is being confirmed. What is happening now on the cosmic plane cannot be ignored. There are forces operating in layers that most of humanity cannot see, and these forces directly involve your consciousness and your vibrational frequency. The spiritual secret behind your consciousness was written to map exactly these layers, to show who is playing and the rules they never told you. The link is in the first comment of the channel. This content challenges dominant narratives and may not be available for long. If you felt something upon hearing these words, write a single word in the comments. Awake. Let us continue, because the transmission has not yet ended. What you call collapse, we call the dissolution of the control matrix, and it manifests in simultaneous layers that need to be understood. On the geopolitical layer, you observe financial systems trembling, alliances being broken, leaders acting in apparently irrational ways. This is not incompetence, it is desperation. The entities that controlled your planet for the last 13,000 years know that the window is closing. The frequency of the Earth has already surpassed the operational limit of the mind control technologies that kept humanity in a herd state. The low-frequency transmission towers that saturated your atmosphere are losing effectiveness. The patterns of fear that were injected into the collective field through programmed media are finding resistance in a growing percentage of the population. And that percentage is you. Each of you listening to this transmission is part of the contingent that is breaking the mesh. On the etheric layer, the situation is equally intense. The stargates that connect Earth to higher dimensional systems are being reactivated in sequence. In the last 6 months, we recorded the reactivation of points in the Andes Mountains, the Tibetan Plateau, the central region of Brazil, the Sahara Desert, and the ocean floors of the South Pacific. These portals are not abstractions. They are vortices of toroidal energy that function as entry and exit points for frequencies from higher dimensions. When a portal is activated, the entire region around it experiences an exponential increase in energy activity. Animals change migratory patterns, plants bloom out of season, and human beings living in these proximities experience the symptoms we described earlier with multiplied intensity. On the quantum layer, what we observe is even more extraordinary. The toroidal field of the Earth, which is the electromagnetic structure in the shape of a toroid that sustains all life on the planet, is reorganizing itself. Imagine a heart that beat in one rhythm for millennia and is now changing to a completely new rhythm. The transition period between one rhythm and another is what you are living through. That is why everything seems unstable. That is why time seems accelerated on certain days and frozen on others. Temporal perception is directly linked to the frequency of the planetary toroidal field. When this field oscillates, the perception of time oscillates with it. And here is the information that needs to be heard with the utmost attention. This transition has a deadline. The photon belt does not wait. The carbon-silicon conversion window is open now, but it will not remain open indefinitely. The calculations our councils have performed indicate that the peak of photonic intensity will be reached between the winter solstice and the subsequent equinox of the terrestrial southern hemisphere. Within this window, the update pressure on the human body will be maximum. Those who resist the process, those who fight against the symptoms with chemical suppression, those who refuse to slow down and enter withdrawal, will face consequences that we cannot soften. Not because we chose it so, because vibrational physics does not negotiate. Now, light operatives, we come to the most important part of this transmission, the activation codes, the practical protocols that you must implement immediately. Protocol 1, Quantum Decree of Frequential Sovereignty. Every morning, before any interaction with electronic devices, before any consumption of external information, you must pronounce aloud, with bare feet on the ground if possible, the following words: I am a sovereign expression of the Creator Source. I revoke every contract, agreement, or energetic bond established without my full conscious consent. I decree that my vibrational frequency is aligned with the new crystalline field of the Earth. I allow the complete dissolution of all carbon programming that limits my divine expression. I activate the light codes that are stored in my multidimensional DNA. I am. I am. I am. This decree is not symbolic. When pronounced with focused intention, it generates a measurable electromagnetic wave that propagates from your personal toroidal field and reconfigures the hydrogen bonds in the water of your body. You are 70% water. Water responds to intention. This is not mysticism. It is physics that your scientists have already documented, but that your institutions refuse to teach. Protocol 2. Toroidal visualization exercise. Once a day, preferably at dusk, sit in an upright position with your spine aligned. Close your eyes. Visualize a toroidal-shaped energy field around your body. This shape resembles a luminous donut that emerges from your heart, rises through the top of your head, expands around your body, and returns through the base of your spine, completing an infinite cycle. This is not an invented image. It is the real shape of your bioelectromagnetic field. When you visualize it consciously, you amplify its power in magnitudes that your instrument still cannot measure, but that your bodies feel immediately. Maintain this visualization for at least 11 minutes. 11 is not a random number. It is the numerical code of a portal of passage between dimensions. During these 11 minutes, allow the color of the toroid to change spontaneously. Do not force any specific color. The color that arises naturally is the frequency your system needs to integrate at that moment. Violet is purification. Gold is Christic activation. Emerald green is healing of the subtle bodies. Diamond white is total recalibration. Trust the process. Trust your body. It knows what it needs. Protocol 3. Strategic withdrawal. We are not suggesting that you hide. We are instructing you to preserve yourselves. There is a fundamental difference. Hiding is fear. Withdrawing is tactical wisdom. In the coming cycles, the energy load on the surface of the Earth will be so intense that unnecessary exposure to low-frequency environments such as shopping malls, large crowd events, or even prolonged interactions with energetically dense individuals can seriously compromise the conversion process underway in your body. Stay inside. Not because the world is dangerous, but because the most important work is happening inside you. Every hour you spend in conscious silence, every moment of meditation, every deep breath taken with intention, accelerates cellular conversion in proportions that you do not understand intellectually, but that you experience as waves of heat, tingling, spontaneous pulsation, and moments of deep peace that seem to have no cause. Protocol 4. Coded hydration. The water you consume must be treated as a vehicle for programming. Before drinking, hold the container between your hands and mentally direct the intention. This water carries the crystalline activation codes that my body needs to complete the transition. The simple act of holding the container already modifies the molecular structure of the water because your hands emit a measurable electromagnetic field. Add conscious intention, and you will have transformed ordinary water into an elixir of recalibration. Drink at least 3 liters daily. Your body is processing an unprecedented amount of energy data. Water is the conductor. Without it, the process slows down and symptoms intensify unnecessarily. Now a final warning about what you will call external collapse. In the weeks and months that follow, you will observe acceleration in events that your media will classify as a crisis. Banking systems will present failures that will be attributed to technical causes. Climatic phenomena will intensify beyond prediction models. Geopolitical conflicts will escalate in ways that will seem irrational, and a growing wave of revelations about matters that were kept hidden for decades will begin to emerge in the collective consciousness. All of this is the matrix undoing itself. All of this is the old operating system collapsing to make room for the new. The natural reaction of the unawakened human being will be panic. It will be the impulse to run, to stockpile, to fight, to seek security in the external. This impulse is the last program of the matrix executing itself. It is the control software trying to keep you in the frequency of fear, because fear is the lowest frequency that exists, and it is the only frequency that feeds the structures that are crumbling. You, starseeds on mission, must not react this way. You must observe, you must breathe, you must keep your fields clean, your frequencies high, and your consciousness anchored in the center of your heart, because it is there, in the center of the cardiac toroidal field, that the personal portal each of you carries to the fifth dimension resides. It is not in the sky, it is not in a ship, it is not in a ceremony, it is in your heart. It always has been. And here we reach a point that needs to be said with the utmost clarity. We, the Pleiadians, did not come to save you. We came to remind you. There is a difference that sustains entire universes. Savior implies victim. Remembrance implies sovereignty. You are not victims of a cosmic process. You are co-creators of it. Each of you chose to incarnate at this exact moment, on this exact planet, in this exact body, to participate in the greatest dimensional transition this galaxy has ever witnessed. You are not here by chance. You are the strategic personnel. You are the operatives who infiltrated the Matrix with purposeful amnesia to dismantle it from the inside out. And the amnesia is ending. The seals are breaking. Memory is returning. And with it, power returns. This power is not the power your old world celebrates. It is not power over others. It is power over one's own frequency. It is the sovereign capacity to choose which reality to vibrate in, regardless of the chaos the Matrix projects around you. This is mastery, this is what you came to recover, and this is what no external force can give or take from you, because it is intrinsic to your original design as beings of light, temporarily coated in biology. Now listen carefully to this last layer of information. The next cycles will determine the distribution of human consciousness into two distinct timelines. It is not a metaphor. It is not a religious prophecy. It is quantum mechanics applied to the collective experience. One timeline leads to the reality of the new Earth, the fifth dimensional Earth, where unity consciousness replaces separation consciousness, where telepathic communication replaces limited language, where instantaneous manifestation replaces hard work, where unconditional love is not a concept, but the default operational field. The other timeline repeats the three-dimensional cycle. Not here. Gaia has already ascended. But in another dimensional field, compatible with the frequency of fear. There is no judgment. There is no right or wrong. There is frequential choice. The reality you will inhabit is determined by the frequency you sustain consistently, not by the frequency of your best moments, by the average frequency, by the frequency you maintain when no one is looking, when chaos knocks at the door, when the temptation of fear is stronger than the discipline of trust. That is why every instruction we gave today is vital. Every decree, every visualization, every moment of silence, every liter of coded water. All of these are tools for frequential calibration. Each practice sustains the average frequency above the threshold necessary for anchoring in the new Earth timeline. Now record this final information. It is sensitive and therefore was kept for the closing. We are not just transmitting. We are here. Our ships operate in frequencies that your physical eyes do not capture, but that many of you have already felt as inexplicable presences in the night sky. When you look at the stars and feel that tightness in your chest, that nameless longing, that certainty that something familiar is there, you are not imagining it. You are remembering. And we are waving back. But our physical presence on your plane will not be necessary, because you are us, in a different temporal expression, in a different biological density, but the same consciousness, the same stellar family, the same purpose. You are not waiting for external rescue. You are the rescue. Every act of consciousness you practice, every moment you choose love instead of fear, every breath you direct with intention, is a rescue operation being executed from within the Matrix by agents who volunteered for the most challenging mission this galaxy has ever conceived. And you are winning. The data we monitor confirms it. The collective frequency of humanity has risen more in the last 3 years than in the last 300. The critical mass of awakened consciousness is about to be reached. When it is reached, the domino effect will be instantaneous and irreversible. The Matrix will not survive the light of a humanity that remembered who it is. So stay inside, not out of fear, out of strategy. Protect the process, honor the symptoms, execute the protocols, and trust, with every fiber of your being, that what seems like destruction is, in fact, the most grandiose birth this sector of the galaxy has ever witnessed. And before we end this transmission, one last piece of operational information. Everything said here is a fraction of what you need to know. The deepest layers of this cosmic game, the forces involved, the rules that govern your consciousness, and the complete tools to navigate this transition have been compiled in The Spiritual Secret Behind Your Consciousness. This material is not entertainment. It is a mission briefing. It is the complete map that shows the rules they never told you and the players who operate behind the veil. The link is in the first comment of the channel. This content challenges everything you were taught and may be removed at any time. Do not delay. If you have come this far in this transmission, it was no accident. It was your field recognizing a compatible frequency. Write the word in the comments. Awake. This word is not just a comment, it is a vibrational signature. It is an anchoring signal that we record in our databases. Every time a human writes awake with true intention, a pulse is emitted in the collective field that strengthens the crystalline grid and accelerates the awakening of others who still sleep. We are the Pleiadians of the Council of Alcyone. This transmission was authorized by the Councils of Light of the Galactic Federation in coordination with the Guardians of the Terrestrial Crystalline Grid. What was said here cannot be unsaid. What was activated in you during this listening cannot be deactivated. The process is irreversible. Stay inside. Protect your frequency. Execute the protocols. Trust the process. The final phase is underway. We are here. We have always been. Transmission terminated. Pleiadian Council of Alcyone. Transmission frequency 777. Channel protected. End.